But there are quite a number of questions, a handful, very useful questions. I'll start with Georgina. In fact, Georgina, along with another council member, appeared before our NADCO team at Bomas. I remember that name very well. I suspect, like the incoming president, she's from my part of the world. But that is not relevant now. What is important is a question she has put forward. We had then, and that's about 2 years now, over 6,000 companies, Kenyan companies, were translocating to Tanzania, to Uganda. I'm not quite sure how many were translocating to Rwanda and Burundi, but those two countries specifically, over 6,000 Kenyan companies, because of the high levels of taxation, those companies translocated. That actually effectively meant those jobs went across our borders. And Catherine Juma, you would agree with me that losing any job is actually being ineffective cost-wise, because these are the young people who are crying out for their country. They cannot get their jobs back. Therefore, Georgina, the creation of jobs will be a priority in the coming administration. And I think I can link that up with the question that the gentleman asked online. I think it was Mwakazi. What are the 5 issues, executive orders you would issue if you are to become the next leader? And I want to tell you, I've already pronounced myself on one very explicitly. And I repeat here before professionals, do away with housing tax. That is number 1. And that will mean that erosion of the payslip is looked after. I'm thinking very strongly, having been once Minister for Education, when we advised President Kibaki then to think of free primary education. And one time, please Kenyans may have forgotten, I actually ran to be president. If I do it, it'll be second time round. And my votes were stolen, were they not? Got close to 1 million votes, others were stolen, never mind. That is history. But then I spoke very clearly about a 24-hour economy. This is time to think about. If you're going to create those jobs, Madam Georgina, we have to work like bees. We have no time to waste. Every Kenyan who is unemployed is a big problem to all of us. And then they turn violent, we call them goons, and then become ready for political leaders who have lost focus, and they believe they can buy leadership by employing goons. Look at what happened at the promulgation. I think former Deputy President Gachagua, not former Deputy. Deputy President Gachagua just wanted to name his new political party. They could not even allow him. You pay goons to cause harm, possibly death to leaders. Kenyans must stand up and say, no. I, like Mahatma Gandhi, I believe in change which is free of bloodletting. And so we will say no to goonism, because these unemployed Kenyans, you give them 500 shillings and tell them, stone Madam President, they would do it. We have to get our conscience back. But the free education should be taken a notch higher. Whether or not it will be my executive order number 2, will await the input of the professionals, Catherine Juma. But we can do free primary education, free secondary education in our public schools, and even free university education. If we stop the stealing, there will be free university education, because every Kenyan is entitled to the highest quality of life. Vision 2030 Some friend talked about Vision 2030. And I've seen in your printed programs, talk about medium-term planning, the fourth edition, to try to achieve the objectives we had set ourselves, given ourselves about Vision 2030. What are you hearing? Do you hear the Ruto administration 1 minute talking about Vision 2030? No. What you hear them talk about is bottom up. Goodness. Kenyans, I think we need to go for mental checkup. All of us. Bottom up economics. One time William Ruto thought was a student of Mwai Kibaki, was a foremost economist. Remember, as leaders, President Mwai Kibaki, when he was Minister for Finance, actually appeared in the Time magazine. That time is the most promising, one of the most promising African and world leaders. He lived to be that. You don't hear anybody talk about Vision 2030. But I can tell you, we have ongoing Vision 2030 projects that this current administration is doing nothing about, or they least care about them. I'll give you an example. A project that is supposed to produce 650 megawatts of electricity, known as the High Grand Falls Dam, should have been implemented by now. And that to add on to electricity, connectivity, and even be able to export our electricity. You know that at midnight, we receive from the Owen Falls Dam in Uganda so much. And yet this Vision 2030, which are also supposed to do entire irrigation of Tana River County all the way to Garissa counties. Nobody talks about that. Even the Mamambogas are forgotten. And you know, one of the things we do, like we did with President Kibaki, was to remove to zero rate the border borders. Do you know that a border today that would have cost 70,000 shillings is costing 150 shillings because of the taxation, Ruto regime? That will be another executive order. At least we have something that is helping the youth. And in terms of climate change discussions, again, I remind myself, I was Minister for the Environment when Professor Wangari Maathai won the Nobel Peace Laureate Award, and I was able to take her to Norway that time to receive that award. Environment is key. And when President Ruto met with Prime Minister Sunak, I think it was, of the UK, in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, they discussed this project about the High Grand Falls. And what has happened since is this committee in Treasury supposed to do this. The PPPs, which are actually potentially very useful, public-private partnerships, are really being held hostage because this administration will say we want 10%, we want 10% to go to this and the other, therefore grant standing. And this effectively means loss of jobs for Kenyans. Vision 2030. Whatever remains between now and 2030, of course, need to be amended. Africa is talking about Vision 2063. I believe myself, even as professionals, we take out our gloves and decide for once we are getting out of our comfort zones and stop corruption. I talked about you signing documents that sell out your conscience and your country. If we do that, we stop Ruto and his team from mismanaging this economy, we will be able to do stuff between now and 2030 and prepare for the next medium-term plan. These opportunities that the top advisors in the Ruto administration, including CS Bandi, should have been here to talk about. But we will issue very clear instructions. I am very passionate about free education for all citizens. And we will fund that free education when we stop the stealing. I also want to say that number 4, number 3, number 5, Mr. Mwakazi, await further instructions. I will be able to talk to you about those as we go on. Now somebody talked about Kenyans who are tainted, and that gentleman must be from Kitui County. Senator, talk to to your elector, and let me tell you, now I'm talking like a professional lawyer, no person shall be condemned and heard. So don't out there start there say, yeah, tainted, what business do you have with so and so? If there are angels in this room, please put up your hands. But there can be policies that draw the line. We will draw the line on the sand and say, from now on, zero corruption. It can happen, my friends. Now, I'll give you an example of somebody you may think is tainted. Governor Natembeya. 2 days ago, and I gave advance notice, he was haunted. Because they want to punish any dissenting voices, went out and obtained a search warrant. And with that search warrant, they carried, I'm told, this is to be verified, about 61 million shillings all the way to Trans Nzoia, to Governor Natembeya's house to plant evidence. 61 million. Wasema amepatikana na hundi ya 61 million shillings. Huyu mjamaa ni mwizi. What happened? The youths in Trans Nzoia, the Gen Zs in Trans Nzoia, decided, no, we will not allow this. So what did they do? They instead vandalized the Subaru, those famous Subarus. They were flat tired. And to their amazement, they found the loot. There's a village called Matisi in Trans Nzoia. Go check Senator Ambua. That night was party time, enjoying the 61 million evidence to be planted on Governor Natembeya. What a shame. What a shame. Well, former Minister for Agriculture, Mr. Linturi, you may say he is tainted, but he gave us assurance that he is not going to be condemned and hard. Atabeba mizigo ya watu wengine. Is going to talk to Kenyans about the fake fertilizer. Remember? Fake fertilizer. Who was responsible? Who did what? Yeah, thank you so much, brother Dr. Wale. It's good to see you. You are a survivor of heart attack. But let's give him a big applause. And thank you for standing strong for your faith. So again, Senator Linturi and former Governor, Minister for Agriculture, Kenyans are waiting to know the truth. Although biblically the truth is Jesus Christ. And Kenyan, the leaders keep on saying, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Kenyans want to know the truth about Mbolea fake. And then you see, kumbe the big boys, the bigger boys, were the ones involved. So don't judge people on the face value. Listen to their story. And even the Dao, the ignorant, I like the words of the Desiderata, the Dao and the ignorant, they too have their story. But every person must be subject to the same treatment under the law. So I talked about Vision 2030 and Rose Mukavi, amazing. Tea production, you know we have the tea auction here in Mombasa. Did you know that a Kenyan called Joe Kamau and his younger brother decided to be very active in the tea auction here in Mombasa? And they had created an extra 300 jobs for young Kenyans here in Mombasa. What happened to Joe Kamau over Christmas? In 2024 or 2023, he was arrested. Was taken around before DCI, and they could not provide any charges. They actually wanted to say money laundering, our professionals, money laundering. They found nothing. This young man was doing value addition to Kenyan tea. Do you know now, as a result of compromising stand by Kenya Tea Development Authority, KTDA, our friends from Rwanda, congratulations. The tea from Rwanda has overtaken the tea from Kenya in terms of quality, because they also bring their tea from Rwanda, Uganda, here in Mombasa for the auction. Those 300 jobs were lost. Joe Kamau translocated to Dubai, given all the welcome. This is a Kenyan, example of a Kenyan entrepreneur who wants to make a difference, to create those jobs, and they get frustrated. Therefore, Rose, we will do quite a bit to just again get rid of corruption from KTDA and wherever. Well, you asked me a question that very